Wonderful. Thank you very much. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Thank you for being here with us this morning. Later today, I will introduce a motion to once again attempt to eliminate the HST from home heating and, in fact, all home energy bills, as well as to cut middle-income taxes. The More For You tax cut proposed by our leader, Bonnie Crombie, will deliver $1,150 in permanent financial relief for Ontario families. The More For You tax cut would be the largest tax relief plan for the people of Ontario in over a decade. It's the tax cut Ontario families need, and it's the tax cut Ontario families deserve. We don't need an election to debate tax cuts. We can debate tax cuts now. We can vote on tax cuts now. We can deliver tax cuts now. The Ontario Liberal More For You tax cut for middle income earners is the tax cut Doug Ford himself promised 6 years ago, a tax cut Doug Ford has failed to deliver. With 6 budgets and 5 fall economic statements, the high-tax Tories have failed to deliver middle-class tax relief each and every time. But the More For You tax cut is not the only tax cut Ontario Liberals have proposed. Yesterday, the Ford government stood in solidarity to vote against the small business tax cut proposed by my colleague Stephanie Bowman. The Liberal tax cut would have cut small business taxes in half, saving them $18,000 a year. Earlier this year, the high-tax Tories stood to vote against the Play tax credit for children's extracurricular activities. Play would have provided Ontario families with a $1,000 tax credit for their children's extracurricular activities and sports. And last year, right around this time, as temperatures were going down and snow was starting to fall, the Ford government rejected our efforts to remove HST from home heating. While they were concerned with writing letters to the Prime Minister, they could have cut HST from home heating bills. This would have saved families money every single month, all of last year, every single month, all of next year, and every single month, every year going forward. But Doug Ford's faux Conservatives are addicted to high taxes. Doug Ford is, in fact, the highest spending premier of all time. Doug Ford is spending so much money that he's incurred over $100 billion in new debt. Now, that is double the new debt incurred by Kathleen Wynne over the exact same period of time, 6 years. This year, Ontario is expected to collect $95 billion in income tax and sales tax. That will make Doug Ford the biggest tax collector in Ontario's history. No government has ever collected more tax from the people of Ontario than Doug Ford. So why is Doug Ford's high tax spending and high taxes approach, why is that a problem? Well, people vote Conservative because they want lower taxes and they want more jobs. With the faux Conservatives, they're getting neither. So we've established that the high tax Tories haven't done anything to lower your taxes. They voted against every proposed tax cut, and they haven't introduced the middle tax cut that they had promised 6 years ago. So what about jobs? Under the faux Conservative government, the unemployment rate is up. Unemployment under Ford has gone from 5.9% in June of 18 to where it stands currently at 6.8%. Under Doug Ford, there are 130,000 more people unemployed today than in 2018. Under Doug Ford, youth unemployment has gone up from 12.7% to 14%. And with Doug Ford at the helm, Alberta, British Columbia, and Quebec have all created more manufacturing and more construction jobs in the last 12 months than have been created here in Ontario. Under Doug Ford's watch, Ontario has lost 28,000 construction jobs, and under Doug Ford's watch, Ontario has lost 8,400 manufacturing jobs just this year. We don't think of Alberta as a manufacturing powerhouse. Doug Ford would like you to think that Ontario is one. But Alberta has added 10,000 manufacturing jobs this year and 14,000 construction jobs, while Ontario has lost in both. Quebec has added 11,500 manufacturing jobs and almost 9,000 in construction. BC has added 7,100 manufacturing jobs and almost 2,000 in construction. Why are the other three big provinces in Confederation adding jobs in manufacturing and adding jobs in construction? And Ontario, the powerhouse of the Canadian economy, is not. In fact, Ontario is actually a drag on unemployment and job creation across the country. Under Doug Ford, business confidence in Ontario has reached a record low. Under Doug Ford, only 16% of businesses have confidence in Ontario's economy. Under Doug Ford, business investment as a share of GDP is 9.6%, while it's 12.7% in BC and 14.6% in Alberta. So why are Ontario businesses deciding to invest less here in Ontario? Doug Ford's Conservatives haven't lowered taxes. Doug Ford's faux Conservatives haven't lowered spending. Doug Ford's faux Conservatives haven't gotten people working. Ontario Liberals are the party of tax cuts. Tax cuts for home energy bills, tax cuts on your income to keep more of your paycheck in your bank account, tax cuts for kids' sports to keep your kids healthy and engaged, tax cuts for small businesses to help them hire more of our neighbors and friends. It's time for Ford's faux Conservatives and the rest of the Ford high-tax Tories to do the right thing and cut taxes for families, cut taxes for small businesses, and get people the better jobs they need to build the economy we deserve here in Ontario. And with that, we'd be happy to take any questions.
Why are you looking at tax cuts for home heating specifically? Why that out of all things?
Well, obviously, Ontarians and all Canadians are facing an affordability crunch, an affordability crisis. Every month, if you own a home, if you rent a place, you get a gas bill, you get an electric bill, you might be buying propane. That's an expense that you see each and every month, and it's an expense that is getting higher and higher. An HST cut on home energy bills, all home energy bills, heating and electricity, will save the average Ontario family hundreds of dollars a year. And that's money that they will save each and every month this year, each and every month next year, and each and every month the year after that and going forward. And so it's a real opportunity for families to save real money that they can then choose to spend on their families.
And I mean, how would you guys bring back those jobs that you talked about in the Ford government losing? What's your plan for boosting employment in the province?
Well, you need to ensure that that businesses have confidence in the government. We've seen confidence in Ontario, business confidence in Ontario, go down. How do you, with the amount of corporate welfare that Doug Ford is offering at the moment, how do you lose tens of thousands of manufacturing jobs? With what is supposed to be an aggressive home building strategy, we know that they're not meeting their targets. How do you lose that many thousands of construction jobs? With what is, according to the government and according to the millions of dollars in ads everyone is seeing, record investment in infrastructure all over the province, how do you lose thousands of construction jobs? It doesn't make sense. So if the government is spending more money than has ever been spent, if they're borrowing more money than has ever been borrowed, if they're collecting more tax than has ever been collected, and they're not creating jobs, they're not providing families with relief, people don't have a family doctor, and schools are overflowing, you have to ask yourself, are you really better off? I think the question answers itself. The answer is no.
What would Liberals cut to not be the highest spending government ever if you guys were elected?
You don't necessarily have to cut in order to make the investments that you need in order to eventually balance the budget. If businesses have confidence in what you're doing, as Ontarians make more every year, the government will collect the revenue that's needed to provide the services that Ontarians deserve. And I truly believe that taxes are the price we pay to live in a civilized society. But we want to see those taxes spent on the things that matter most. We want to be able to go see a doctor. We want our kids' schools to have teachers and EAs and classrooms and not portables and play structures. We want to be able to get our kids to school on a school bus and not have to worry how we're getting them there and getting them home. These are the kinds of things Ontarians expect for the high taxes they pay. And at the moment, they're not getting any of that. And they're not getting tax relief. And they're not getting jobs. So what exactly are we getting from Doug Ford? We're getting investment in his friends and insiders, not investment or help for Ontario families.
And I believe when the party's leader announced the policy of the HST and the income tax cut, that was called the first major campaign proposal. Will there be more on this theme, making things more affordable, cutting taxes and whatnot?
As I've laid out, I think clearly today, Ontario Liberals are the party of tax cuts. Whether it's an income tax cut, whether it's an HST cut on home energy, whether there's a tax credit for your kids' sports, whether it's a small business tax credit, we are committed and dedicated to making life more affordable for Ontario families. We're also dedicated and committed to making the investment climate for business owners and for entrepreneurs what it needs to be. Government doesn't create jobs. Government creates an environment in which entrepreneurs and risk takers feel comfortable spending their money to create jobs. And in Ontario at the moment, we've seen that business confidence is down. It's entrepreneurs, it's institutions and corporations that are choosing not to create the jobs that we need in Ontario to support the population that we have. We need to get that confidence back by having a responsible and respectful approach to finances and a responsible and a respectful approach for Ontario families.
That's all for me.
Good. Thank you very much.